They do say that, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of like Stalin and Mao and all that crap.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I hear that all the time though by.
Well, the thing about that is though, their atheism isn't what caused them to do any of the things they did.
Yeah, I mean, I just because the point I like to bring up though is that like because they like to they like to say that because these individuals decided to do extreme things. Like I do realize that like Stalin, he did do some things in the name of atheism. Because he did kill I've at least heard this he's killed religious people in order to promote atheism in a sort of violent way, I guess.
Well, it wasn't atheism per se, and Russell, correct me if I'm wrong. It was actually he didn't want anybody else interfering with his drive to power.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not saying everything he did was in the name of atheism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
religions, power and politics.
Religions routinely try to suppress one another, and so the suppression of religion is not in itself an expression of atheism. And in this case, it wasn't a religion that Stalin was promoting. It was an ideology.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be quite fair to say that communism is a religion, and therefore we blame atheist communism on religion, because that would be kind of a spurious connection. But it is the same kind of thing of requiring a vacuum in order to insert your ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, the point I try to bring up a lot, though, is that, you can, basically take any belief to an extreme.
Right.
I mean, any individual can take a belief to extreme, but what really matters is if the belief in itself is extreme.
Right. Well, I don't know.
Atheism isn't. It doesn't even have a doctrine that that preaches extremism and
yeah,
doesn't have a doctrine at all.
This is an area where I disagree with Matt, because Matt says that atheism can't drive you to act in some way.
That's what I'm saying though. It's atheism in no way can cause you to be extreme.
Well, I mean, we've had this disagreement on the nonprofits. I'm actually of the opinion that if in the generic sense, faith can be blamed for certain actions, then not having faith can induce you to act in other ways.
With you there, sometimes religion, not only is the justification, but the inspiration for criminal acts.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just that but I'm not going to blame the religion if the religion is not extreme.
Well, you might. I mean, it depends on what the religion says.
And
I think that you can take
Christianity though.
Right.
I know a lot of people like to bring up the Old Testament, but I mean, I would have to agree with the Christians though that Jesus does pretty much imply that the Old Testament laws don't they don't.
That's not what he
in
said.
fact, he implies the opposite. In fact, he directly states the opposite. At one point, he says, "I have not come to change."
5:17.
Yeah, I guess. I haven't memorized
it
it by chapter and verse.
Yeah, I mean, it's the problem I have with that verse, though, is that, right after he says that, he ends up listing off the Ten Commandments and a few times refers to them as the law.
Uh-huh, yeah.
And, I mean, he does say throughout the New Testament, to keep, to obey the Ten Commandments. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that, maybe he was just referring to the Ten Commandments.
No, I mean,
well, that's
that
not what
would
he
be
said.
kind of a narrow reading of the verse.
Yeah.
I mean, what he actually said was, "I have not come to change one bit of the law," and it would seem like one of those extreme contortions to say, "Oh, by the law, he only meant this specific part of the Old Testament."
Oh yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. He doesn't make it clear when he says that. Whether or not he's referring to everything in the Old Testament, or if he's just referring to specific things. Just what I was saying though is that right after he says that though, he ends up listing off the Ten Commandments.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So what do you?
But I mean, I can't agree with you that Christianity doesn't lend itself to extremism. I mean, it has a central doctrine that people that people are evil and deserve to be tortured forever unless they have a specific belief in this.
That is true.
Yeah. In this religion.
It's just the religion, what most of the Christians though, that whenever they, believe though that Jesus did abolish the Old Testament laws, they're most of the time they're not going to be going out, slaughtering people or anything.
Right. Well, but I mean that only proves that people can have varying degrees of extremism with respect to any particular religion. I mean, there are moderate Muslims that I respect a lot, but there are also the batshit crazy fly planes into building types.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just trying to use like Christianity as like, an example of where I personally don't really think it's an extreme religion.
Okay.
But other religions like Islam, though, I think it says around like the end of days, you have to slaughter and kill the non-believers.
Mm.